Tone in here on a football Friday. We get ready for Cowboys and Eagles. He was already stoked.
DeShields, how we doing, sir?
I'm surprised we're not seeing a ton of Eagles. There it is, Hurts hat. All right, Hurts season. I got it. We're ready to rock here.
Yes, sir. We keep it in modest today. We're gonna go crazy on Monday after the win.
That's what we're doing. Okay. All right.
We keep it in we keep it in modest and humble today.
How about this?
But you notice I'm wearing all black, right?
I see
somebody's gonna die on Sunday. Somebody eulogy on Sunday.
Like this. Somebody's pride's gonna die on Sunday.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I think that pride rests in Dallas. So listen, man, this is going to be an exciting matchup, man. This is what football is all about, man. This is what football is all about. Like, let's really think about this slate that's coming up: Eagles, Cowboys, Bengals, Bills, Chiefs, Dolphins, Seahawks, Ravens. Come on, man. This is storybook. This is what the game's all about.
How about Dak never throwing a pick in Philly?
Hey, cool story, bro. Doesn't mean nothing at the end of the day.
Okay. Then you tell me.
22-2 don't mean nothing either.
Okay.
So, you know what I mean?
Wait.
So, hey.
Look at what he just did there, guys. He turned my 22-2, nothing. Okay. 8-3, never throw a pixels, nothing. Okay. Way to go. You see what he just did there? That was a kind smack in the face. Like it here. Tone. All right. How do you see this thing playing out on Sunday?
I think this is going to be a very, very entertaining game, man. I think it's going to be hard fought, going to be gritty, going to be tough. I think both teams are going to bring their A game, but I think ultimately the Philadelphia Eagles are going to win. I think this is a game where, shockingly enough, this is going to be the second game of the season where the Philadelphia Eagles don't turn the ball over a single time. I believe that's going to happen. I understand the Philadelphia Eagles do have a propensity to turn the ball over at least once per game throughout this season. They've only had one game where they haven't, and that was the Washington matchup. But there's something different in the air right now. And I feel like this whole team, this entire roster, Jalen Hurts, all those guys, I think they truly understand the assignment and what's at stake here. The Dallas Cowboys, they're a team, especially their offense, they really depend on that defense and that special team to put up points. I don't think that's going to happen on Sunday. It's something that you can't really hang your hat on. It's something that's so fluky. I understand Deron Bland leads the league in pick sixes. He has three pick sixes this season. I respect that. And they got some guys back there that can make some plays. Totally got to respect what they have on defense. I think they're more so led by their defense than their offense. But when you think about it from this perspective, that Cowboys offense, I think they average about 37 points per game 35 points per game at home. They only average 21 points per game on the road. That's a 16-point disparity. I don't really like how that looks. The Philadelphia Eagles, in terms of their scoring at home versus away, there's a 8-point disparity. So the Philadelphia Eagles are relatively more consistent than the Dallas Cowboys in comparison to home and on the road. So I just think the Philadelphia Eagles, they are a more pure scoring offense. Cowboys, they depend on so many bells and whistles to help them get to the finish line. The Eagles get a lead early, and that's going to put Dak Prescott on the clock. I think the Philadelphia Eagles win this game 31-24.
The numbers on points, I agree. I think they're misleading because there's been a lot of points scored by the Cowboys. And I've always said this too. I don't know why the offense gets credits for pick sixes. I know that it changes possession and you become the offense, so I get it. But really, in theory, I look at that number 28-1, they're 8th. That's misleading. I think they're more around 15th in scoring. However, here's where I think they have the advantage in this. Even though they're not putting a lot of passing yards up, they're in the middle of the pack at 15th. The Eagles are 26th in pass defense, almost giving up 250. So remember what we said, Tom. This is about matchups, not so much about talent here at times.
Absolutely.
This is more about matchups, and that favors the Cowboys, in my opinion, that this is going to come down to schematics, coaching, in-game situational blitzing. Are you going to press? Are you not going to press? So when you have the Cowboys have the advantage there.
I think the Eagles are
passing versus pass defense.
I definitely agree with the notion that the Philadelphia Eagles pass defense has been a liability for most of the season. The numbers don't lie. They're giving up a lot of yardage. But I look at it like this also, right? From a situational perspective, on both sides of the ball for both teams. From a situational perspective, I think the Philadelphia Eagles are more hardened situationally. They're a better team on third down. They're better on fourth down. They play better. Not just play better, but they actually are a team that doesn't get rattled or shaken by being behind, even if it's double digits. We've seen that throughout the season. So they're a team that, regardless of the circumstance, you still got to play 60 minutes. I don't believe the same notion for the Dallas Cowboys. You get the Dallas Cowboys down by 10 points, 14 points. You're going to start to see Dak Prescott start to unravel and turn back into a pumpkin.
That Arizona game comes back into focus when you're down 10, in
Absolutely.
my opinion, when you're the Cowboys, whereas you're behind a couple times the last couple weeks and you're Philly, you're more comfortable with that as a team. I wonder, though, if you're going to be that way as a coaching staff. Here's another concern I have.
Agreed.
When they say that the Eagles are 7th in rushing, I think that's misleading. I think you've built those numbers off of 2 games, because the last 3 trend games, you guys have been outrushed. I mean, the Commanders have outrushed you in both those games, and I wouldn't consider that a high-powered offensive line or a high-powered running attack. And you're going against the 18th best rush defense in the NFL and the Cowboys. My opinion, I don't think the Eagles are 18th or in the middle of the pack in rushing, but I think that 7th number is a little bit closer down to the 11 and 12, which makes that stat closer. To me, I think it's misleading to think that the Eagles are a running attack. They're not.
Yeah, when you think back to to the earlier matchups, the Vikings and the Buccaneers, things like that, those were their biggest rushing performances. So
how long ago was that, Tom?
That was that was several weeks ago. So to your point, the rushing numbers are misleading because over the past 3 weeks, they haven't really run the ball that well. I'm curious to see what's their plan with the running game this week. But overall, I do think this Philadelphia Eagles team, I do think they are one of the better rushing teams in the NFL. I'm not saying they're the best because they haven't really shown that on a consistent basis because they don't really commit to it that often. But I think having that skill set in your back pocket, having that ability to sustain drives, move the chains, win on third down, all those things, I think that bodes well for what the Philadelphia Eagles do. And look, we talked about this, right? The reality is, we're watching this offense trying to evolve into something more modern. Last year, the Philadelphia Eagles, even though they were balanced, got a lot of flack for not really having a modern offense, right? So I look at it like this: even though they have turned the ball over more this season, what comes with the, if you can't catch a fish and just catch it without bones, man. Sometimes you get the egg, sometimes you get the shell, sometimes you get both. You dig what I'm saying? So,
yep.
At the end of the day, when you pass the ball more, you're going to turn the ball over more. I think we're watching this offense literally evolve. I mentioned to you in the private chat, they've run significantly less RPOs this year. Jalen Hurts has been banged up, so they're not really running him in a lot of different situations like they normally will last year. I just think we're seeing the Philadelphia Eagles trying to move with the times and really elevate this passing attack. You got AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert out there. I mean, how can you not be enticed with passing the ball? So I have to check my own biases, right? I have to check my own ego in terms of what I'm used to. I'm used to a hard-nosed, blue-collar, muddy style of football in Philadelphia. I got to check that. The reality is Philadelphia Eagles got the talent to be able to run with any team in the passing game. They just got to lean into it and continue to nourish it.
Brotherly tough, I do believe that the playbook is going to be thrown completely at the Dallas Cowboys before the bye. Do you think that the Eagles are becoming too dependent on AJ Brown?
No, because at the end of the day, he's your number one. He's your number one target. He's your number one receiver. He's your most explosive weapon on the field in terms of size, physicality, speed, hands. He can do it all. He's like the perfect combination of Dallas Goedert and Devontae Smith and all their best traits. Dallas Goedert with the size, hands, so on and so forth. Devontae Smith with the route running, the hands, the elusiveness, the speed, so on and so forth. So I also think about it like this, right? AJ Brown, he has 83 targets on the season. Through the past 8 weeks, he has 83 targets on the season. Devontae Smith has 57, right? Jamar Chase for the Cincinnati Bengals, 85 targets. Tyler Boyd, 44 targets. And then this is the next guy, right, in terms of target order.
Where's T. Higgins on that?
T. Higgins has 42 targets, right? Okay. So Jamar Chase has more targets has more targets than Tyler Boyd and T. Higgins. Well, he has the same amount of targets as Tyler Boyd and T. Higgins combined.
Take a look at Josh Allen. I bet you and Diggs, that number's even wider with their number 2 guy.
Yep. Stephon Diggs, 90 targets. Gabe Davis, 47 targets. Dallas Cowboys, CeeDee Lamb, 56 targets. Michael Gallup, 35 targets. Detroit Lions, Amon-Ra St. Brown, 78 targets. Sam Laporta, the tight end, 59 targets. Los Angeles Chargers, Keenan Allen, 74 targets. The next closest guy, Joshua Palmer, 39 targets. So I don't really lean into or buy the notion that they're too dependent on A.J. Brown. All these quarterbacks in the NFL have their number 1 guy. They have their go-to guy when things get tough. They have their go-to guy. They have their go-to guy when things get rough. So this is what happens when you, especially all these guys don't even have an A.J. Brown type, right? A.J. Brown, 6 weeks in a row, over 125 yards receiving, broke Megatron's record, arguably the most explosive receiver in the game right now, next to Tyreek Hill. How can you not feed that guy? So I'm not leaning into the notion that they're too reliant on him. If you really watch the games, especially in the past couple weeks, it's not like they're throwing to A.J. Brown every single play, right? You know, on A.J. Brown's, on one of A.J. Brown's touchdowns drive, they went to Devontae Smith back to back. You know what I mean? To move those chains. So I think it all depends on the situation. I think A.J. Brown is just your game breaker. He's your big play guy. He's your security blanket. It's the name of the game in the NFL. Everybody got their one. Everybody got their number 1. Everybody got the number 2. It just so happens that the Eagles have an extremely talented number 2, unlike those other teams. So that's how I look at it.
Okay, well, if you're going to go with the number of targets to him and you're going to limit yourself in running, don't you become predictable?
Isn't every other offense predictable?
But by that logic, your turnovers are high, and that's why your games are close.
I mean, like everyone else, right? Like everyone else.
Well,
it's the name of the game.
Not everyone else, because you're turning the ball over more than everyone else.
Fair enough. Fair enough. In terms of interceptions, Jalen Hurts is tied with 7 or 8 other quarterbacks in terms of interceptions go. Fumbles, I think fumbling, that's the real issue. He has to get the fumbles in order. I think he's thrown 8 interceptions on the season. If you compare
that, for the record, Tone, I'm long as he's still around 70, 68.
Right.
I'm gonna live with that too. I'm making a conversation here.
No, for sure.
I'm living with that.
And the thing is, you have to, because you know the reality is, I'm looking at, you know, I've been watching a lot more games this season. You know, sometimes you get so caught up in the rabbit hole of the Philadelphia Eagles. I've been watching a lot more teams this year, and I'm seeing these quarterbacks lean on their guy, especially on like those third down situations, or when you need a big play, or you know, at the end of the day, AJ Brown is AJ Brown. I mean, how can you not feed the guy? You know, I'm looking at this offense right now, and I wouldn't necessarily call them predictable. I just think they're going through an evolution. And we've seen these other quarterbacks in the league. They came into the league for the most part passing the ball. That's been their game, right? But Jalen Hurts, he's been a dual threat guy most of his career. He's trying to transition into being a guy who can be elusive, can break the pocket if need be, but he's trying to be a more prototypical passing quarterback in the pocket. I look at this offense and I say, and me and John talk about this all the time on Football 24/7. We do that show about 3 times a week. And, you know, he says it all the time, and I tend to agree. This isn't a pass first offense. This isn't a running first offense or AJ Brown first offense. This is a Jalen Hurts offense, and they go as he goes.
But they're evolving it into not running anymore. I mean, you know, when people tell me that it's still a balanced offense, and I'm not saying you,
right?
And I look at what they've been doing the last month, it's not true. They are more reliant on throwing the football, which is going to, and by the way, you're right, because you got to start taking advantage of the NFL. You got to pay your high-paid guys. I don't want to establish DeAndre Swift. I don't want to establish Kenny Gainwell. I don't care about those 2 guys, okay? I care about Swift more, obviously, because I think he's effective in the pass game. But at the end of the day here, okay, you paid that man because you ran those RPOs to a point where he was almost undefensible last year at times. So what you've done is you are now changing off of what you bought at the showroom. And you're trying to do something and change him into being something that, why would you go away from success, Tone, to try to get into something else and think you're more successful? And the reason I think that it's kind of they're there with this right now And the only reason they're there is because they're 7-1. Because if they were 5-3, I think that front office would go back more to RPOs.
Well, success doesn't always mean you're growing, right? You can have the same recipe that you put up for years, and maybe you still have your same customer base, but is your company really growing? Are you really taking things to the next level? So, no one's saying necessarily change your recipe, but we're saying add more things to the menu, right? And I think that's what the Philadelphia Eagles are doing.
But they're taking one of the items out of the pot.
As far as the RPO, because they still run the ball. I'll put it to you this way: the Philadelphia Eagles right now, in terms of rushing attempts per game, they run the ball 32 times a game. In terms of passing attempts, they pass the ball 35 times a game. So relatively, they're still balanced.
They ran the ball 32 times against Washington?
Against Washington, I can tell you that right now. Against Washington, they ran the ball a grand total. Give me 1 second here, sir. All right. Against Washington. Where are you? Total plays, passing attempts, rushing. Okay, so they ran the ball 29 times against Washington.
Okay.
Washington ran the ball 22 times.
Okay.
Washington ran it 16 times. They passed it 38 times.
How many carries did Hurts get in that Washington game last week?
In that Washington game, Jalen Hurts only had 4 carries. DeAndre Swift had 16. Kenny Gainwell had 2. On one of them, he fumbled.
What I'm saying, more so than anything, it's not that they're not running the ball as many times. Jalen's not.
It's how it looks. Exactly. Because
it's Jalen not running it.
Yeah, because last season, Jalen Hurts averaged. This is a good topic we're talking about here. I'm glad you brought this up because it puts things in perspective in terms of how the Philadelphia Eagles ran their offense last year, right? So let me just go here, team stats, and look at last year, right? So last year, and we talked about this before, Jalen Hurts averaged 11 carries last year because he ran it about 160, 170 times. He averaged 11 carries last year, so keep that in mind. Last season, the Philadelphia Eagles, here we are. Give me 1 second. Sorry about this.
That's all good.
All right, so in 2022, the Philadelphia Eagles led the league in rushing attempts per game with 33 attempts, right? Remind you, they're running the ball 32 times a game this year. So, but other teams are running the ball more. But they ran the ball 33 times last year. That was the team average per game, 33 attempts per game, right? Jalen Hurts averaged 11 attempts per game last year. You take away his 11 attempts, that's 22 for your running backs. So, I mean, they're not necessarily doing anything different. It just looks different because the running backs aren't as productive from the running game as last year, like a Miles Sanders was. So it just looks different.
Is Jalen getting the same volume of attempts that he did a year ago per game?
I think they've gone down because of the knee. Because let me look at it like this.
Because the last 3 weeks, I mean, they've only rushed him. Especially, okay, then if that's the case, then it's situational play calling going on here.
That's what I think as well.
Because get this, in the last 3 weeks, the offensive coordinator has refused to get the offensive running attack going.
Okay, so in that Miami game, so in the Washington game, he ran the ball 4 times. In the Miami game, he ran it 11 times, right? Granted, total attempts for the team were 34 rushing attempts. DeAndre Swift had 15 versus Miami. Kenny Gainwell had 8. So again, that's exactly all. So when you put Kenny Gainwell and DeAndre Swift's attempts together, that's 23 attempts. That's exactly on par for what they did last year. Remember, Jalen Hurts averaged 11 attempts per game last year. So having 11 attempts in that Miami game, and then you add in Swift and Kenny Gainwell, that's 23 attempts plus Jalen Hurts' 11. That's 34. So the Miami game was on par for what they did. Prior to that, again, in the Jets game, that was an ugly game that he didn't really run. Actually, he led the team in rushing. He had 8 carries, 47 yards. So he's technically still running the ball a similar amount. I think he's averaging about 9, 10 rushes per game. The Washington game was the least amount of rushing attempts he had all season. But he's still in the same area in terms of rushing attempts per game, 10, 11.
But the RPOs are down.
But the RPOs are down. They're running as a matter of fact, you can make an argument he's scrambling more this season rather than design runs
because of the passing attempts.
And that's what I wanted. I wanted less design runs for Hurts, more of him in the pocket, being a playmaker. If he has to run. If not, throw the ball. That's what I want more from Jalen Hurts. So he's actually running the offense the way I want.
Why Rashad Penny's not on the field.
Bingo.
because
Bingo.
he can't pass protect. Gainwell's the worst, but he's the worst of the best.
Exactly. Their best back,
or the best of the worst, I should say.
You know, their best pass protector doesn't even get any snaps, really. It's Boston Scott. He's their best pass protector.
And I'm going to say this to you, and I agree 100% with you. Peterson Scott will never see the inside of that huddle ever again, as far as I'm concerned, man, because he's a Doug guy, and that's how Howie sees that dude, man. Okay, Peterson Scott will never run the ball here. All right, I got a ton more questions here for you.
Oh, for sure, man. We're gonna have some fun. We got some time. Let's do it, man. It's Dallas week, baby. Let's have some fun, man.
You ready for this one?
Yes, sir.
Confident or nervous Sunday?
You know, believe it or not, around this time, I would be nervous in any other situation. You know, I'm gonna keep it totally honest with you, right? I would have been nervous 3 or 4 years ago. Right, I would have been nervous. It's something about Jalen Hurts that brings ease to my mind. I'm not even trying to spice it. I'm not trying to overcook it. It's something about this. It's something about this dude where I just believe everything he says. I believe everything he does. I trust him when it matters most. And it's like, again, we lost that Super Bowl, and it sucks tremendously. He fumbled that ball. You can't do that. But he put you in position to win the game. Damn, defense, do something. You know what I mean? So, you know, I just look at this. I just look at this guy as like, he's such a gamer. He's the kind of guy that you want leading you in the foxhole, unlike a Carson Wentz type character. You know what I mean? Carson Wentz is the kind of guy that goes to the enemy line and say, look, I'll do this if you let me get out of this, man. Jalen Hurts is the kind of guy we ride together, we die together. Bad boys for life. That's how I'm looking at Jalen Hurts. I believe him. I believe him.
You had to win a 60-minute ball game. Nick Foles or Jalen Hurts?
Oh, you ain't shit.
you ain't getting me there.
You ain't. Listen, I will say this, though. Nick Foles had one of the most spectacular 2-game stretches I've ever seen an Eagles quarterback ever have in my life. Right?
He was like Eli Manning.
Yes, that's a great comparison. He had an Eli
postseason Eli.
He had a postseason Eli moment, and it just so happened he beat Tom Brady. Right? It was almost storybook. But yeah, man.
You're not going there.
I'm not even touching that conversation, man. Because Nick Foles, that's like, listen, you never forget your first, right? I will never compare any other lover I've had to my first. Never. It's not fair.
Is Jalen Hurts become your favorite Eagle player of all time?
Oh, he's up there.
No, Mr. Mayor. Is Jalen Hurts your favorite Philadelphia Eagle football player, or does he have to win a Super Bowl for that to happen?
Yes. If he wins a Super Bowl, Jalen Hurts can. He could babysit my kids, man. Whatever kids I like, he can do whatever, man. Like, listen, he can come in the crib. Listen, he got his own stuff in the cabinet. He got his own stuff in the fridge. You know what I'm saying? Like, we got his own person. He got his own personal snack corner. Hey, listen, that's Jalen Hurts' lazy boy. He doesn't sit there. No one sit there but Jalen Hurts. That's
holy cow! He gets his own sippy cup.
He gets his own sippy cup. He gets his own key fob. You know what I'm saying? He gets his own button to the garage door. You know what I'm saying? He gets all that if he wins the Super Bowl. But as of right now, to this day, Brian Dawkins is my favorite all-time Philadelphia Eagle, man. Favorite all-time. He didn't even win it. But damn, you would have thought he did. He was in the front office for the Philadelphia Eagles that year they won it.
Huh.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah, he doesn't work for them anymore. He wanted to focus more on his he wanted to focus more on his philanthropy and all that kind of stuff. But he was in the front office, so he got a ring, technically.
Technically, thank you. You know who mine is. I don't even have to tell anybody here. I've got some prop bets here for you. Dak Prescott over under 207 passing yards.
207?
Yeah.
Over.
Over.
That's definitely over, yeah.
Jalen Hurts over 250 passing yards. Over
yes.
under.
Over. I think
so
over.
You think both these guys go for 300 yards in this game?
I wouldn't be surprised. It wouldn't surprise me at all.
Tony Pollard over under 60 yards rushing.
Under.
DeAndre Swift over under 73 yards rushing.
Under.
Jalen Hurts, over under 45 yards rushing.
Under.
CeeDee Lamb, over under 100 yards receiving.
Over, but it's a push. I think he'll have like 110 or something, like 105. Like, it's not going to be nothing crazy.
A.J. Brown, over under 103 yards receiving.
Over, and over.
Holy cow. I even got it.
103? After what's been going on these past 6 weeks, man, 103 is like 50 to him. You know what I'm saying?
Devontae Smith, over under 69 receiving yards.
Over. I actually think this is a game where
number 4 pass defense in the league.
You may think I'm crazy. I think this is a game where both AJ and Devontae go over 100 yards.
Dallas Goedert, over under 60 yards.
Under. He's going to have like 50 or something. He's going to be close, but he's going to have like 50 or something. Like, it's going to be something like that.
Micah Parsons, over under a sack and a half.
He's only going to have 1 sack. I got to say under. He's going.
You know
why? The Lane listen, that Lane Johnson stuff is real. He can't beat Lane Johnson.
Is it true he only has a half a sack in every game he's ever played against Philly?
Combined, I think it's either a half or 1 sack total. As a matter of fact, we can find that out right now.
I think he's got like a half a sack in the history of him playing against Philly. Dude, can you imagine that number being like that for Lawrence Taylor?
Here it is. Micah Parsons has 8 solo tackles, 6 assisted tackles. 8 solo tackles, 6 assisted tackles, and a half a sack in 3 games played against the Eagles in his career. Half a sack.
Half a sack.
Half a sandwich, as you will say.
Okay. Hassan Reddick, over under a sack and a half.
Over. I'm willing to go over. Because you want to know why? Their offensive line is banged up, right? And there's a chance they're starting tackle. What is it? Tyron Smith, is that his name? There's a chance he might not play. Now, he's supposed to be practicing tomorrow, but they're going to see if he can go. But they've been dealing with injuries. Don't believe anything
you're reading right now, unless you see out. Don't.
No, that's a good point. But even then, though, it's a neck injury. He's going to have to deal with Sweat and Hassan. I just don't. Their offensive line has not been as stellar as it normally is. They're getting older and they're banged up and they're young. So I think Hassan Reddick gets a sack and a half, two sacks. I think that.
Bob Lang, PR Eagles. You need to hire Tone, man.
Oh, yeah.
Public relations says, because this guy here.
I'm open for business, baby.
Hey, it is all Eagles, baby.
You already know, baby.
What worries you more going into this game on Sunday? And I won't isolate it on the question. I'll leave it vague for you. Niners will find a way to lose their bye week. Thank you very much, Maniac. What is your biggest concern going into Sunday?
Linebackers. I'm really concerned about CeeDee Lamb in the slot. I really am. I'm really concerned about the Philadelphia Eagles being able to take advantage of their 3rd and long situations. The Philadelphia Eagles have struggled on pass defense in 3rd and long. They just have. And I can't get that 3rd and 20, 3rd and 18 out of my mind from Christmas Day last year, where they let what was that receiver that they brought in for that? Who was the guy they brought in in the second half of the season? Who was the guy? T.Y. Hilton. Remember they signed T.Y. Hilton?
T.Y. Hilton.
I will never forget him game breaking us on 3rd and long.
FAU kid.
If the Eagles would have got off the field, if the Eagles defense would have got off that field on that drive, they win that game. But I think the Philadelphia 3rd and long and linebackers concern me, and that goes hand in hand.
Who will have more turnovers in the game, Prescott or Jalen Hurts?
That's a good question. I think. Well, I already said this is going to be a game where the Philadelphia Eagles don't turn the ball over at all. I've already committed to that. So I think this is a game where Dak Prescott throws his first pick in Lincoln Financial Field. And you know who catches it? Kevin Byard. who's caught them. You want to know what? You want to know why? You want to know why? Kevin Byard,
help me.
And in every game he's played Dak Prescott, Kevin Byard, I believe he's caught. Let me put it to you this way: in all his performances going up against Dak Prescott, and the Titans, they only play teams outside of conference, but so many times, right? Kevin Byard has 3 interceptions on Dak Prescott, 3 interceptions. So I'm leaning into that. I think Kevin Byard understands the assignment. He understands his tendencies, and I think this is a game where Kevin Byard picks off Dak Prescott.
Hey, okay. Hey, Tone. It's now at 490,000.
Listen, man,
little 500,000 people.
You stoke it, and they buy it, baby.
But you know why? No one else is. Do you think this is one of the quieter Cowboy Eagle weeks that you can remember, where it's not
funny
really
you say that.
a lot of shit talking going back and forth?
Oh, it's funny you say that because Rob and D Gun kind of feel the same way. It's kind of been quiet a little bit. On Twitter, in my algorithm, I follow a lot of Eagle, Cowboys, content creators, all that kind of stuff. So I see the jaw jacking all the time. You know what I'm saying? So I don't see
right now between Eagle fan and Cowboy fan is
it's there.
Nuts.
It's there, but it's in the crevices in the wall. You know what I mean? Like you gotta be a part of that to really see it. And the Eagles fans in the live chat will tell you they're talking trash, trust and believe. But you know what they're doing? They're trying to play humble this week. They're trying so hard to act like it's another game. They're trying so hard. The fans, right? The Cowboys fans are trying so hard to just act like it's another business trip. They're trying to, they're trying to make it seem like the excitement is one-sided. You know what I mean? They're trying so hard to play it cool. But I
hate the guy who pretends to hide the plumber's crack.
But as soon as they win the game, they're screaming.
Get out there and scream it.
Listen, you know what I mean? So look, at the end of the day, man, I look at Cowboys fans and they know what's coming. They feel it, they sense it, and it scares them at night. It's like the boogeyman. It's like Candyman. Don't go in the mirror and say my name 5 times, because if you do, you're gonna see a shadow.
Don't you agree that there's pressure on Desai in this aspect? Jonathan Gannon beat the living shit out of the Dallas Cowboys earlier. And if you can't stop the Cowboys, and Dak goes for, like he did in the last game last year, for 375 yards and 5 touchdowns, and he torches that defense, and he beats them, don't you say this then? Man, I don't know, man. The coordinators on the Eagles this year were not in line with the coordinators that they had a year ago. Now, I mean, if Jonathan Gannon could stop the Cowboys and run them over with no talent almost, don't you think, as Sean Desai, with all the so-called talent you have, that you think young, inexperienced, I think your front seven's great. Your front seven's way better than Arizona's. And if they can't stop him, how do you look at that then with Gannon then and go, okay, well, this guy wasn't an upgrade? Or maybe you do still. I don't know.
No, I understand. You bring up a very fascinating point because, regardless, right? If that defense, the Eagles defense, even in the DB room, right? The starters, they're experienced guys. You know what I'm saying? It's not like they have youth all over that defense. I mean, at Nakobe Dean, at linebacker, inexperienced. Reed Blankenship, still relatively inexperienced. I mean, he's played in some crucial situations last year for the Philadelphia Eagles. Don't get it twisted. He has way more snaps under his belt than Nakobe Dean, but still, in comparison to Kevin Byard, Slay, Bradbury, not as experienced, right?
Right.
So you would think they would be much better, but that's and I feel like having that amount of talent and experience back there, you shouldn't be as bad as you are in pass defense. That's why I feel like the lack of continuity. All the injuries back there have really hampered the ability for that pass defense to really play at much of a high level as they could. Think about this, right? Jonathan Gannon dealt with almost no injuries on that side of the ball. He lost 2 players. He lost Avonte Maddox, who eventually came back, and he lost Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, who eventually came back. But still, he really didn't deal with injuries in their secondary like that. He really didn't. So, and again, that defense is predicated off of communication and being in sync, right? already Sean Desai has dealt with so many injuries on that side of the ball, and that in the DB room specifically, it's so hard to execute that type of offense. But I do agree, if Sean Desai's defense doesn't have a good outing, at least, to a point where they're able to make plays situationally, get off the field on third down at least, because at the end of the day, the Cowboys are talented, man. But let's not pretend they're not talented, right?
They are.
They're very talented. Dak Prescott, in my opinion, he's a good quarterback. CeeDee Lamb is a good wide receiver. Brandon Cooks, I think he still has a lot left.
Quinn's a great coordinator.
Dan Quinn, he's a good coordinator on his side of the ball. You know what I'm saying? So they're talented on offense, and they're talented in their coaching staff, especially in the defensive coordinator. So Sean Desai definitely has some pressure on him to make sure he can find a way to hide the deficiencies of that linebacker room. And again, you got another week with the four-headed horseman and James Bradbury, Kevin Byard, Reed Blankenship, Darius Slade. You got another week with those guys playing together in sync. I think they play much better than they did last week. But again, with a team that talented, you only can stop them but so much. The goal is to stop them situationally, keep them out of the red zone. You know what I mean? Because the way the defense is designed, teams are going to move the ball against it. You just have to take advantage of your opportunities and play tremendous situation football. So yes, there is a lot of pressure on Sean Desai this week. And if he allows Dak Prescott and those boys to go for nearly 400 yards passing, he's going to have to answer a lot of questions.
Who has a better game Sunday, Hurts or Dak?
Now
before you answer, if Jalen gets a lead, you could see Dak have incredible numbers.
Right. So it's like,
there's always like this is why I say this. Many people go like this. Mahomes was outplayed by Hurts in the Super Bowl. No, he wasn't. Okay? The guy made the plays when it mattered the most. That's winning football. The numbers are always going to be misleading. Did he keep, watch this. Here's how you compromise that take. Did he keep the Eagles in the game? Yes. Did he win it? Well, then what are we talking about? 2 games in a row, Mahomes was technically outplayed by Jalen, but Jalen's 0-2.
Yep.
So when we say a guy, like to me, Hurts can go like this on Sunday. 262 yards, 31 of 35, 2 touchdowns, 45 yards, and they beat him by 5. And Dak could go for 375, 5 touchdowns and 2 picks, and lose. Who played better?
I agree with you at that 100%. So
I think it's not how you drive, Tone. I think it's how you arrive.
Exactly, right? It's not the speed, it's the route. What route did you take to get here? You dig what I'm saying? So I definitely agree with you. But I'm not wearing this hat for nothing, man. I think Jalen Hurts has the better game. I just think he does, man. I think he operates better under pressure. I think he operates better in these type of games. We've seen Dak Prescott in a game earlier this season where it was talked about. It was highly touted. It was deemed the matchup of the season, the rematch of all rematches, right? And he was so shaken so early. I understand he has his record against the Cowboys, but Dak Prescott hasn't played in Lincoln Financial Field since 2021.
Huh?
Think about that.
That's right. Last year, the game
Cooper Rush played,
and the year before that,
and the year before that, it was a nothing burger because the Eagles sat Jalen Hurts, they sat all their starters, and they dropped 40 points on third string guys. So
was 20 the year he was hurt?
Say that again.
Was 20 or 19 the year he was hurt?
So the 2021-2022 season, Dak Prescott was healthy. He got hurt the year before.
Yeah, year before. Okay.
So the 2021-2022 season is when that was Jalen Hurts' first year starting, right? The first matchup, Dak Prescott and the Cowboys smoked the Eagles in Jerry World. It was like week 4, week 5. And then they played the last game of the year. I went to that game. Jalen Hurts, none of the starters played, not on offense, not on defense. None of them played. The Cowboys played all their starters, every single last one of them. And the game was close into the third quarter, and that's when the Cowboys kind of broke the game open. And you expect what you expect, right? And then the Cowboys go into the playoffs and they lose to the Niners that year at home. So Dak Prescott has not played in Philadelphia in a high-pressure environment, arguably, since 2019. Think about that. He hasn't been in this situation since you could probably go further than that, because he was like let's be totally honest about this, right? I understand Dak has his record against the Philadelphia Eagles, but he has not had to come to Lincoln Financial Field and play a 7-1 or undefeated Philadelphia Eagles team in the atmosphere like this with the quarterback playing this well. He has not had to play in this circumstance. We know how Dak operates in these circumstances, especially on the road. Candlestick. He looks like a pumpkin.
I think the last 2 years, if you think about it, the last 2 years, his biggest games outside of Philly had to have been that Buck game against Brady, who was calling it.
I'm gonna be honest. Real quick, can I respond to that game in particular? They want to give him so much credit for that game, right? The Bucs got into the playoffs with a less than 500 record. That defense was that team was terrible. They were snake bitten with injury. Tom Brady was on his like that team was literally a nothing burger. You dig what I'm saying? So how can I get like you went in there and beat up, and that's the problem with the Cowboys. They beat up on teams that don't have any legs to stand on.
So wait a minute, you don't have any respect for the 23-point victory that they just had with the Rams?
How can I? How can really? How can I? You beat the Rams at home. Like, your defense scored a touchdown, 2 touchdowns, I think. Your special teams scored. How can I?
Look at how he's played in both 49er games.
All three 49er games.
Look at those games that he's played in those games.
The games that matters. He cannot. He doesn't. It's weird to me. But when it comes to Jalen Hurts, when it comes to the games that matter, regardless how you feel about the opponent, if it's a game that matters, he's going to win the game, regardless of how you feel about his stats or his performance. He's going to win the game. I trust Jalen Hurts more than Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott has not played in this environment under these circumstances since arguably 2018, 2019. How can I respect that man in this context?
Who do you have more concerns with going into this game, the Eagle coaching staff or the Cowboy coaching staff? There's question marks on Mike. I mean, Mike, for what look, I think it's always going to be about Jimmy's and Joe's. Ask Matt LaFleur that. Ask Bill Belichick that. It's, Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre are going to cover a lot of shit up, Tone. You know what I mean? They're going to cover a lot of stuff up. So everybody's going to fall under that play calling guys that maybe you don't have the right guy in the room. Now, to me, I don't really think the Eagle coaches, the young coaches, I don't really think they have a lot of patience.
They lack the experience as that Cowboys coaching staff. They lack it. But I'm willing to say this, right? And I know this probably isn't going to answer your question. This is probably me putting on my mayor button. But I look at it like this, right? The Philadelphia Eagles, that roster, they're so good at what they do. They're capable of winning in spite of the coaches making a mistake, so on and so forth. We've seen it many a times. They're capable of winning in spite of. The Dallas Cowboys, on the other hand, I don't think they're capable of winning in spite of anything. If their coaches aren't having a good day, they're not winning the game. If defense is not having a good day, they're not winning the game. If offense isn't having a good day, then they need all the ingredients to be working in sync for their meal to taste good. But you ever have a meal when someone, they eyeball it a little bit. You know what I'm saying? They trust they flick of the wrist. Oh, a little garlic powder over here, a little bagels over there, the tomato sauce.
I don't play with my food, Tom.
You know what I'm saying? So my point is, right? My point is the Cowboys, they need every ingredient to make it work. A real cook, a real chef knows how to make it work, whatever he got in the kitchen. You dig what I'm saying?
Oh,
that's the difference between the Dallas Cowboys and the Philadelphia Eagles. The Dallas Cowboys, they're not stress tested. You dig me?
Yeah.
The Eagles are stress tested. You dig me? That's where I'm at with this. I'm not buying a house that ain't never been through a hurricane. But guess what? That house, it made it through a hurricane, made it through a sandstorm, made it through. Okay, I know that house got a strong foundation.
So like you like pre-disastered houses, like, that house was hit by lightning bolt. I'm buying it.
Hey, listen, if you're disaster proof, I'm buying you. I'm buying you if you're disaster proof.
Before I get you out of here, I'm not going to go through all the games on Sunday, but just some of the highlight games. Miami, Kansas City, and Germany. Who do you like in that one?
Miami, Kansas City, Germany. Ooh, that's going to be a matchup. And you know what's so great about these matchups? They're all staggered, so you can watch them all at once. Or you can watch them all independently of each other. You know what I mean? It's going to be amazing. In Germany, neutral field. I gotta rock with Mahomes, man.
Hey, by the way, Ramsey's playing.
Oh shit!
And get this, guess what they said too? That
is Xavier Howard back too? Is he back as well?
Hey, you want to hear this? They may put Ramsey on Travis Kelce.
Damn! You know what's so crazy?
He got a pick last week against New England.
He doesn't in his first game back.
I know.
It's crazy. I don't trust his wrist. I don't trust Mahomes. You kind of shaking me a little bit. That Kansas City defense is playing so well, Sills. So well. You know what? I'm gonna go out on a limb here, right? I'm gonna go out on a limb. You changed my mind, especially with that, because I forgot about Jalen Ramsey. I forgot. I got Kansas City losing the second game in a row.
Wow. I'm going to give mine a little bit later, but man, that's a really.
I'm not giving a score.
No.
I got Kansas City losing their second game in a row. They haven't done that in a long time, if ever. So I think they lose their second game in a row. I think that.
Seattle,
the AFC is so shaky.
I know, up and down. Seattle at Baltimore.
Who's home?
Ravens.
I'm going Baltimore, man. Lamar Jackson is going crazy right now. I got to go Baltimore, man. I have to.
Buffalo, Cincinnati.
Who's home?
Bengals.
I'm going Cincinnati because Cincinnati, they're finding they're getting hotter. I think Buffalo's getting colder actually. So I'm going with the team that's trending up rather than the team that's plateaued or even trending down. I'm going with Cincinnati in that game. I'm going with Cincinnati.
Let me do one more here. I like that here. Let's do this one here. Washington at New England.
Washington,
they get the 500.
Washington at New England?
At New England. If they win, they get the 500.
Washington, huh? I think New England wins that game. I think New England wins that game, man. They got to bounce back. That defense in New England is still very good.
Yeah.
And Sam Howell, outside of his matchups against the Eagles, I mean, he's been very below average. So, and I know Mac Jones has struggled as well, but I don't know. I trust Bill Belichick and that team at home against a team like the Washington Commanders, who just had a fire sale of their edge rushers. So, I'm going with the Patriots on this.
Yeah, because I think they've waved the white flag too. The Patriots, that looks like a strong pick. All right, Tone. Here we go, baby. Sunday. I mean,
it's exciting,
Sunday.
Man. It's exciting. Listen, man,
what do you got here?
I got the Philadelphia Eagles, like I said. What did I say? I said I said 30-24.
30-24.
30-24. Philadelphia Eagles. Cowboys score. What is it? 3 touchdowns and a field goal. I think the Philadelphia Eagles, they score. What is that? They score 3 touchdowns and is that 2 field goals? Yeah. No. So that's 21. 56.
I got 24-21 Birds.
Okay, that's reasonable. I think that's reasonable. So yeah, I got 30-24 Birds. You got 24-21 Birds. Yeah, that's reasonable.
So I think they're going to be kind of conservative in the first half here. Both teams.
You think both teams are kind of be throwing jabs, just filling each other out?
They're going to not want to turn the ball over. And you know what happens when you don't want to turn the ball over? You're not tight. Doing the Bruce Arians, no risk it, no biscuit plays.
Yeah.
You're kind of going back and forth a little bit. You're kind of feeling each other out. Haymakers will start to come in the middle of the second quarter. That's where you'll start seeing teams take punches at one another in big opportunity plays. Because what you want to do, in my opinion, if you're the Eagles, you want to see how Dallas is going to play CeeDee. Then on the other end, you want to see how Dallas is going to play AJ. Okay, how are you playing him? Are you playing him with big body Stephon Gilmore? Are you playing with a guy over the top on him? Are you jamming the guys at the line of scrimmage? Are you playing press? I also think Dallas wants to see on those corners, because to me, the key in that game is going to be the corners and how you fundamentally play them.
Yeah,
because I'll tell you, Tone, you play 10 yards off that ball, you're going to look at Dak in the first quarter. He's going to be something like 11 to 12 for like 122 yards but that doesn't necessarily mean they're in the end zone.
Hey, listen to this, right? Think about this scenario, right? Because I think scenarios and moments matter. I think the best situation for the Philadelphia Eagles, win the toss, defer. Like, get your defense out there. Find out early what you're working with. Get your defense out there. Get a 3 and out. If you can get a 3 and out and defer, and you guarantee
like a turnover.
Exactly. You win the toss, defer, get a 3 and out. Your offense gets the ball. They go down the field, score a touchdown. Now you have the lead. Boom. So you have a lead. You've already proven you can stop their defense, stop their offense once. Dallas gets the ball back. Worst case scenario for them, another 3 and out. Eagles, if the Eagles get up 2 scores early, the Dallas is finito. It's done. You might as well put them on the grill, saute them, and just serve them up.
Look at Tony. He's already got him on a skewer.
The Eagles have to score early. They have to be opportunistic. They have to take advantage of what their defense provides. Because I still feel like there are many moments where this defense has moments where they stop a team consecutively and the offense doesn't take advantage of it all the time. Complementary football is going to be paramount in this game. So the Eagles, they have to score early. They got to get a lead on Dallas early. They got to put that pressure on them early. If the Eagles go up by 10 points early, you're going to start to see Dallas get a little tight. Watch. You're going to see Dak make a little bit more mistakes. He's going to start forcing the thing a little bit more. Just watch.
So you start to see that sphincter muscle, as you say, start to get a little bit tighter here a little bit, right?
Pucker up, baby.
You can't drive a nail through it, as my coach would say. Hey, man, the sphincter factor. I used to go to Jimmy. What's that? He goes, I can't drive a nail through it, man. You're getting so tight. Your sphincter factor, man, is really perking here. Hey, Tone, great stuff, my friend.
Yes, sir, man. This is going to be a hell of a matchup. I'm looking forward to it. Listen, I told you on Monday, it's somebody's funeral, man. And I plan on reading a Dallas eulogy. So,
a Dallas eulogy could be coming on Monday.
I'll put it to you this way: the man in black is coming. The man in black is coming. Okay.
All right. I look forward to that. All right. That's our friend Tone. Don't forget also, 4:30 Eastern time, we will talk to the legendary Merrill Reese. Hey, it's Happy Wingsgiving for Hooters. We appreciate everybody at Hooters for making this really what a great fall it is. I mean, football in Hooters during the fall, can't get a better matchup. The iconic Hooter girls want to thank all of you. When you go into any one of the locations in the Northeast area, thank you so much. Specials each and every single day, all month long of November. Ice cold Coors Lights for $2.99. 25% of each purchase goes to local charities as well. The 2024 Hooter calendars are there. They got $100 in gift certificates inside the calendars. I think there's like 9 girls that are featured also from the locations there in the Northeast area too. NortheastHooters.com. That's NortheastHooters.com. The great lunch special. I mean, Monday through Friday, 11:30 to 3. Boneless wings. Happy hour, Monday through Friday, 4 to 6. Can't get anything better than this here. 6 items, $6. Try the fried pickles. You'll absolutely love them. Get the steamers on Seafood Sunday. Half price off. Military Mondays, 20% off. Tuesdays, buy 10 wings, get 10 boneless free. And Wing Wednesdays, 1983, all you can eat. Kids eat for free on Saturdays as well. NortheastHooters.com. That's NortheastHooters.com. And when you go into any one of the Hooters, do me a favor, tell them Big Sil sent you.
Yo. football and Hooters, the perfect pair.